And now I get to introduce Sue Hwang. Sue is a poet, activist, stargazer, and the author of BODEGA, Lyricality's selection for Read Poetry 2020. That book was also recipient of the 2020 Minnesota Book Award in Poetry. Sue's poems invite us to recognize trauma and to, in her words, rage responsibly. Her poems invite us to concede our egoistic ideals and fantasies to the truth of experience. As she writes in her poem, The Price of Rice, I let my mother speak in hyperbole, concessions you allow someone who has survived civil war, someone whose father was taken by silhouetted men in the dagger of night. The gift of her poetry is allowance, to allow and make a hospitable place for the reality of pain and shame, our own and others, and then to marvel in awe, to reconsider the value of feelings, ideas, people, and places which generally are unwanted, invisible, or marginalized in mainstream American culture. Thank you, Sue. Please welcome Read Poetry 2020's featured poet, Sue Hwang.
Hello, excuse me. Wow, thank you, Tracy. Amazing introduction, as Paige echoed earlier, and just the care that you put into just everyone you come across. It's really beautiful, and so thank you for that. And Louise, oh my gosh, so happy for you! Like amazing, amazing, amazing. And you know, when I met Louise, I was already a fan. So it's just continued, and I'm just you always take not just my breath away, but everyone that, you know, comes into contact. So this is just the beginning, as I think we've echoed earlier. And this is really just exciting to be here. So thanks, Tracy and Lyricality, and it's an honor to be here with Paige and Hyde. And the readers from Central Minnesota, I'm eager to hear you and meet you virtually tonight. So I'm gonna just read. So, you know, I also couldn't, I mean, the first time that I sat down with the book to kind of like, which poem am I gonna pick? I really couldn't. I mean, I was just like, I don't know. So I thought about it for a while, you know, I had to like sort of pace and take some time. I'm gonna read Father. You know, obviously, I think Louise contends with the complex, fraught relationship with the father, and that's kind of what I do, and with my mother too. And you know, and I think a lot of us do in our work. But I read this poem and I was like, okay, I think this is it. So I'm just gonna read this poem. Father. Could everyone hear me? Okay. I could make up a story, draw you in with powerful imagery, then I leave you. I am attracted to beginnings. 18 years later, I walked out on him. He was drunk. I wasn't. I walked away after looking at his shoes. What shoes would make a father walk for 18 years away from his youngest daughter? I hated those shoes. I hated his hands, his slouched shoulders, the pity drenched in his liquored slur, the generic cigarettes he smoked. I hated him. I'm left-handed. Was he? My hair curls. His? I give up. Why did he? Then I knew. I was the daughter of a man I did not know, but hated. I walked away. His initial lesson. Like, oof. You know, there's so many poems in the book where it's just like you kind of fall off this cliff. But you know what I mean, in the best way, as a reader. And so I'm going to read a poem that sort of, you know, is I guess the inverse. It's titled Eomma, and it means mother in Korean. She packed a suitcase, not an immigrant bag the size of refrigerators, but for a quick getaway. Stuffing clothes into its slit maw, she tugged at the zipper as if she were pinching homemade dumplings. Please, please. Begging like spoiled dogs, my brother and I cried for her to stay. She corralled us inside, meeting our sighs, turned to say this was for the best. We would be okay. 사랑해. We cringed. We were not the kind of family that said, I love you out loud. She reminded me to set the timer on the rice cooker, then got in her Ford Tempo, drove away. By dinner, she was back, making kimchi jjigae. They rode into the night. Nothing had changed. Next time, she packed a duffel bag. My brother and I stood as lookout, told her to never return. We would be fine. This was for the best. But she must not have been listening. So, yeah, I just wanted to maybe talk about the father-mother, dynamic in a lot of I just felt a lot of like resonance with your work, Louise. And so I, visited a class earlier this week. It was a college class and it was a intro poetry class. And one of the students asked me like, how do you get past the anxiety of writing about your family and like your parents, and like she's, she was very young. I mean, she was like, what, 18, 19. And I wasn't sure if she needed permission from someone else to say it's okay, like you can do it. But did you ever, when you started writing, I guess, I'm wondering if you had that kind of anxiety about writing about your parents especially, and like what obviously helped you get past that? Was it like a poet that you read or just a class you took or something like that where like it sort of unlocked that for you? Because I feel like in your work, it's just so powerful and so, like devastating in its candor. And so, yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, what a great question. And your work too. Oh my goodness. You're stunning. There was a lot of anxiety and I was laughing because I remember in some of the earlier writing classes that I was in, and it was my time to share. I would share, yes. But I would politely and kind of just like pitifully ask the writers in my class to not look at me. And in a supportive way, they did. And so they would either turn away or keep their head down, and they would just allow me that precious space. And I didn't know it then, but oh my gosh, was that so powerful and so necessary, because a lot of what I was learning was a lot of that stuff that I was writing was the first time that I wrote it down, but it was the first time that I kind of exhaled it. Right. And there is when it's inside and it's screaming to come out, it comes out as anxiety, and you are kind of almost asking for permission. Like, can I say that my father was a shitty father? Can I say that? And and there's this tug of war and with your emotions and your heart and trying to be kind of socially responsible in some bullshit way. But it was just that I just kept writing. I just kept writing, and a lot of the stuff that I did kind of bring to the forefront and allow for editing. There was much of that, but there was many pieces that just stayed in my journal, just with me and my creator and my truth and my father. And there's a couple in this collection about him, but there's probably 100, 200 more that are only with me and him. And that's part of the process of me reconciling the relationship with my father, and because he is no longer in this world, and so that's what it is. And then once you get kind of more comfortable sharing out loud, then I think you're allowing yourself to go to the next level. And once that level is done, then you get to go deeper, and you get to go deeper, and the more raw it becomes, right? The more devastating it really is, because on the surface you might be like, oh, my dad, kind of did this. A little deeper, like, oh, my dad hurt my feelings. And at the core, you find I was abandoned by my father. And then to be there for a minute, and to hear Sue, to hear you read that was another level, because it's I'm sharing it, and I'm not the only one who has issues with their parent, and so some way it's healing for all of us. So beautiful job. Thank you. Great question.
Thank you so much, Louise. Thank you.
Thank you both. I mean, you've both done so much amazing, hard, good work that comes out in your words that challenge and heal simultaneously. Thank you.